Hello students, welcome to Zoology Classroom. In this video, let us discuss about stress biology and related disorders. First of all, let us know what is stress. Stress is the process by which we perceive and respond to certain events that we see as threatening or challenging. So, stress is the process in which we will receive a uh, information or we will respond to certain events, and we will consider those events as threatening events or challenging events. And stressor is an event or circumstance that causes a stress. Stressors as such, they does not cause stress, but our perception of that event, the meaning we attach, that will create stress in us. So stressor itself, it will not create stress in our body or in our mentality mindset. So types of stressors, there are several types of them: biological stressors, environmental stressors, and cognitive stressors. Life change stressors are four important ones. Let us see about the biological stressors. Any illness or disease, and any physical disabilities, injuries, these are biological activities or incidents. They may cause stress inside us. So they are called as biological stressors. Some environmental events like poverty, overcrowding, natural disasters are also, they may also create stress. So they are called as environmental stressors. Cognitive stressors are related to way of thinking or way of working of the nervous system, inability to solve a problem, coming up with creative projects. All these things are called cognitive stressors. And some are life-changing stressors like death of loved ones, divorce, and trouble among family and friends. They are life-change stressors. Now coming to types of stresses. So two important types are there. One is acute stress and another one is chronic stress. First one is acute stress. So acute stress is the reaction to the immediate threat or immediate event. And this event is called as a fight or flight response. So that threat can be any situation that is experienced even subconsciously or falsely as a danger. Common acute stressors include noise, crowding, hunger. So these are common acute stressors. Second one is chronic stress. Frequently, or however, modern life possesses ongoing stressful situations that are not short-lived, and they urge to act, to fight or flight. They must be suppressed. Stress then becomes chronic. When a stressor, we will face that stressor continuously on a daily basis, or if it continues for a long period of time in our stress, that results in the chronic stress. So common chronic stressors include ongoing highly pressured work, so work pressures, long-term relationship problems, loneliness, persistent financial problems also create stress in the individual. And another classification is also there in stresses, that is eustress and distress. First one is eustress. Eustress is also called as a good stress. So in this thing, something pleasing or something gives us happiness will result at the end of the stressful situation. Say, for example, planning a wedding, planning a party, completing your last semester before the graduation. So in all these events, during the event goes on, it will be some painful, it will be some there will be some difficulty, but once the event is finished, then the result will be very good. So such type of stresses are called eustress. And the next one is a distress. This is displeasing kind of stress, or bad stress. It causes harm to the body. Examples for this distress are death of a loved one, and natural disasters like earthquakes, floods, and financial problems are, uh, these are the examples for distress. And responses to stress. So some factors that influence the response to stress are age, sex, nature of stressors, physiological functioning, personality, behavior characteristics, level of personal control, availability of support system, feelings of competence, cognitive appraisal, economic status. So these are the factors that influence our responses to the stress. And manifestations of stress can be seen in physiological, psychological, cognitive, and verbal motor domains. So these are indicators of stress. So let us see physiological indicators: dilated pupils, diaphoresis, tachycardia, tachypnea, hypertension, increased blood flow to the muscles, increased blood clotting, bronchodilation, skin pallor, water retention, sodium retention, oliguria, dry mouth, decreased peristalsis, hyperglycemia. So these are the physiological changes that occur during the stressful situations. So these are physiological indicators. These physiological indicator manifestations of stress, heart rate or pulse rate, increases to transport the nutrients and byproducts of metabolism more effectively. And skin becomes paler because of constriction of peripheral blood vessels to shunt blood to the vital organisms. So all these symptoms occur due to a purpose only, with the purpose only. So BP increase also due to the vasoconstriction of vessels in blood reservoirs like skin, kidneys, lungs, due to the secretion of renin, angiotensin 1 and angiotensin 2. And increased rate or depth of respiration with dilation of bronchioles. This promotes the hyperventilation, and this in turn results in the increased oxygen uptake. So this is also a useful situation only. And coming to psychological indicators. So in psychological indicators, we can see anxiety, fear, anger, depression, and in some cases, unconscious ego also results in some defense mechanisms. So these are all the psychological symptoms that can be seen during the stressful situations. And cognitive manifestations or cognitive symptoms can be seen like thinking responses that include problem solving, prayer, structuring, self-control, suppression, and fantasy. So these are all the psychological or cognitive symptoms can be seen during the stressful events. So thinking responses of individual towards stress are called as cognitive manifestations. So these cognitive manifestations help in problem solving. Some people, they will use some specific steps to arrive at a solution. And structuring also helps in manipulating a situation so that threatening events do not occur. And self-control, self-discipline also assumes a sense of being in control or in charge of whatever situation is that. And suppression is a condition in which willfully we put a thought or a feeling out of our mind so that we will not feel any negative impact of that stressful condition. So that is called suppression. So suppression is nothing but trying to forget about that stressful event. And coming to verbal or motor manifestations, some people may cry like with pain, joy, or sadness. And verbal abuse. So this verbal abuse will be done due to the release mechanism towards non-living objects, and stress producing events like using some abusive words during this stressful events is an example for this. Laughing, anxiety reducing response that leads to constructive problem solving is laughing also. In some cases, we can see this type of symptom also. And screaming, a response to a fear or intense frustration or anger. In such cases, screaming can be seen, and spontaneous response to some physical threats or frustrations can be seen spontaneously, like hitting and kicking. And holding and touching responses can be seen during events that create joyful or painful situations. And hormonal changes during these stressful events. Adrenal cortex releases mineralocorticoids like aldosterone, and this aldosterone results in sodium ions retention, water retention, and protein anabolism or protein synthesis. And glucocorticoids, example for this glucocorticoids are cortisol. It is anti-inflammatory, and it results in the protein catabolism or protein destruction or energy release, and gluconeogenesis. When glucose is not there, glycogen is not there, it will be produced from other than carbohydrates like lipids or proteins. So this gluconeogenesis will be initiated by cortisol hormone. And adrenal medulla releases norepinephrine. This norepinephrine is responsible for peripheral vasoconstrictions, decreased blood flow to kidney, increased renin concentration, which initiates the ROS system. And adrenal medulla also releases norepinephrine. It results in the tachycardia, increased myocardial activity, increased branchial dilations, increased blood clotting, increased metabolism, increased fat metabolism. So all these symptoms that we can see physiologically during stressful event are due to these hormones released from this adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. And general adaptation syndrome is there. So this general adaptation syndrome was proposed by Seeley, a scientist named Seeley. So this general adaptation syndrome is a three-phase long-term stress response. It begins by the identification of a stressful situation, and this is the perception, and it is highly individualized. It is not similar in all individuals. So in this general adaptation syndrome, three stages are there. One is alarm stage, second one resistance stage, third one is exhaustion stage. In alarm stage, it occurs when person recognizes the threat and mobilizes resources. In resistance, in this resistance, stress is prolonged by willful resistance mechanisms. And once the resistance power is lost, he reaches the exhausting stage. When all the resources are completely depleted, then that results in the final stage of this general adaptation syndrome. So first one is alarm phase. So in this alarm phase, primarily epinephrine or adrenaline hormones will be released. So in response to these hormones, some nervous symptoms and hormonal symptoms will be seen. The objective of these symptoms is survival of the individual. So during such conditions, either the animal or the individual, he has to either fight the situation or fly away from the situation. For that purpose, body needs a lot of oxygen flow, blood flow. Nutrients also need to be supplied in high quantities to the required places only. Say, for example, if you want to escape from the place, your legs need a lot of blood supply, a lot of oxygen supply, a lot of nutrient supply. If you want to kick a person in a fight condition, then your hands need all these ingredients in high quantities. So depending on the need of the organ in our body, they will be sent to that organ in our body. So, and in such cases, less nutrients, less oxygen, less blood flow will be there to remaining places. Only required places or liquid organs in our body will receive all these components in large quantities. So the SAM pathway, in this SAM pathway, this hypothalamus, it will be stimulated by stress condition and physical activity or low blood pressure, glucoses. They will result in this stimulation of hypothalamus. When hypothalamus is stimulated, it will release some hormones, and these hormones and it will also release some action potentials. These action potentials, they will pass through the adrenal gland, through sympathetic nerves, and through this spinal cord also. So through the hormones and through the spinal cord, through nervous route and through hormonal route, these adrenal medulla will be stimulated. Stimulated adrenal medulla, it will release the epinephrine and norepinephrine. So the secretion of these epinephrine, norepinephrine will result in these events like target tissues. They will release increased release of glucose can be seen from the liver. So increased release of fatty acids from fat stores. Heart rate will be increased, blood flow will be decreased through blood vessels to other organs, and peripheral organs or skeletal muscles are those organs which need to work fastly. They will receive more blood flow, more oxygen, and visceral organs function also will be decreased, and blood pressure will be increased. Metabolic rate also will be increased in the skeletal muscles. All these activities are due to the effect of epinephrine and norepinephrine hormones. So epinephrine increases the heart rate, decreases blood flow to other non-important organs. It increases blood flow to important organs, releases nutrients from liver and adipose tissues. It increases the WBC activity at the infection places if the infection is the stressor, and damage to the blood vessels also may be occur. Increased inflammation also can be seen, and inadequate nutrients storage also will be there with the effect of epinephrine. Second stage is resistance phase. So this resistance phase is due to cortisol hormone, and the objective of this resistant phase is also survival. So the resistant phase also tries to keep the life of the individual, and body needs during this resistance phase are higher blood flow, oxygen and nutrients to specific places, and remaining places require less nutrients, less oxygen. So this second resistance phase will be done with the HPA pathway. So in this HPA pathway, so the pituitary gland, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal hormone, they will be participating in this HPA pathway. So hypothalamus releases releasing hormones. So these releasing hormones, they will induce the ACTH hormone from this. They will release this ACTH hormone from this pituitary gland. So then pituitary gland goes and this ACTH goes and acts on the adrenal cortex, and this adrenal cortex then releases the cortisol during this second phase, survival phase. So this cortisol, this acts on the target tissues to increase the fat and protein breakdown. It increases the blood glucose levels, and it has anti-inflammatory effects. So, and this also acts on this hypothalamus to prevent the further release of releasing hormones, ACTH releasing hormones. So cortisol hormone participates in negative feedback control mechanism. So this HPA pathway, the cortisol hormone, not only cortisol hormone, the aldosterone and RAS system also will be triggered by this HPA pathway. So increased blood sodium, blood potassium levels, or decreased blood sodium levels will induce the adrenal cortex to release aldosterone. This aldosterone acts on the kidney cells to retain in the retention of sodium ions, and in the excretion of potassium ions, and water loss also will be decreased. So more water will be absorbed by the kidney, and this kidney, it will release in that such type of situations, where potassium levels are high, sodium levels are low. In such cases, kidney will release renin enzyme. This renin enzyme works on the angiotensinogen, which will be released by liver. And this angiotensinogen released by liver will be converted into angiotensin 1, and in turn it will be converted into angiotensin 2 by ACE receptors, and this will be done mostly in lungs. So then this angiotensinogen 2 goes to all blood vessels, and it helps them to constrict so that blood pressure will be increased. So to increase the blood pressure, all these things are being taking place. So this all these things, all these green things are, they are making components of RAS system, renin, angiotensin, and aldosterone system. So in this slide, both SAM and HPA pathways are compared. So third one is a recovery phase. So in this recovery phase, if the system works, high nutrient levels and high oxygen levels will be rerouted to resources, and all organs will receive them in equal proportions, and homeostasis will be restored in the body if we are able to overcome the stress condition. If we are failed in overcoming the stress condition, then that will result in the exhaustion phase. So if everything goes well, recovery phase will be the third one. If everything goes wrong, third phase will be exhaustion phase. So in this thing, we cannot overcome the stress, so we will lose negative feedback control, and often it may result in the death also. The death will be due to the complications from diabetes, shock, cancer, opportunistic diseases or infections, cardiac arrhythmias. So in this way, all these negative feedback mechanisms, they will stop, and they will increase the activities, and so that all these negative impacts can be seen during this exhaustion phase. So stress and illness. Coming to stress and illness, psychosomatic diseases are defined as physical ailments with a genuine organic basis that are caused in part by psychological factors, especially emotional distress like hypertension, ulcers, asthma, eczema, and migraine headaches. All these are due to these stress conditions only, and they are psychosomatic diseases. And some emotional problems like anger, panic, fatigue, sleep disorders, depression, suicide attempts, or suicidal tendencies also can be seen, which are considered as emotional problems. And the stress is having twofold effects. On one side, some unhealthy behaviors like smoking, drinking, poor nutrition, and sleep-like conditions can be seen if the stressors are persistent, and if they stimulate negative emotions inside our body. So they also may result in the immune suppression, and heart diseases also can occur, and autonomic nervous system effects like headaches and hypertensions also can be seen. And due to stress, several diseases or several disorders may occur, like heart diseases, heart stroke, high blood pressure, colitis, irritability, rheumatism, depression, migraine pains, diabetes, hardening of the arteries, insomnia, fatigue, sex problems, skin diseases, allergies, overeating, asthma, kidney disorders, ulcers, breathing problems, and increased smoking. These are the several disorders that occur due to prolonged stress. So, and stress also is connected to immunity. It will decrease the immune system power, weakens the immune system by diverting the energy required for the immune system to another organs that fight with this stress condition. So cortisol hormone released during these stressful situations, it will affect the immune system capacity. It will decrease or it will weaken the immune system capacity, and it will prevent the production of cytokines. So prevention of cytokine production results in the weakening of immune system. So during the chronic stress, this cortisol will be produced in high quantities. That results in the few receptors to be produced on immune cells. So inflammation will be decreased, so that immune system or immune reactions also will be decreased. And stress results in chronic head diseases also, clogging of blood vessels that nourish the heart muscles may be a reason. And this chronic stress causes increased levels of lipids in the blood. Blood becomes stickier, so that thickening or clotting, blood clotting also is possible. So this results in the heart diseases, and these are due to stress condition only. And stress also can increase hypertension, or it may cause hypertension. So essential hypertension is a condition in which there is chronic high blood pressure, usually with no known biological cause. So an individual that shows an exaggerated cardiac response to a variety of stimuli is more likely to develop hypertension. And stress also can cause diabetes mellitus. So through this HPA axis and SAM axis, through HPA axis, central obesity, insulin resistance, and dyslipidemia will result. They will release in the release of leptins and insulins, and they will induce sympathetic nervous system through SAM pathway, and that results in the hypertension by releasing this epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline. So cortisol causes increased in blood sugar level, so that this cortisol results in the diabetes development, and this may be compounded by unhealthy eating habits also. So diabetes risk factors are, if the diabetes is left untreated, it may cause a lot of complications in the individual, like blindness, chronic renal failure or kidney failure, atherosclerosis or heart attacks and stroke, diabetic neuropathy, that means numbness and pain in the hands or feet, foot ulcers, autonomic neuropathy like diarrhea, rapid heartbeat, and low blood pressures. Coma or death also may occur as a result of diabetic ketoacidosis. It occurs usually due to infections. People who smoke are much higher risk at heart attacks, strokes, infections, and problems with poor circulation. And stress in infertility. Stress may also be a reason for the infertility in some individuals. So it plays a great role causing infertility. Like the people who are under stress are 20% less likely to achieve fertilization success. That means 20% less chances are there to get fertilization. So high levels of stress hormones, they will stop ovulating and are therefore unable to conceive. And it was found that high levels of the cortisol hormone is linked to stress, which results in infertility. So the in case of males, the main reason for this infertility is sperm abnormalities, low sperm count. These are also maybe result in due to stress conditions. So some researchers found that men who experienced two or more stressful life events in the past year had a lower percentage of sperm motility also. So stress and infertility, here in this slide, we can see how stress is affecting the fertility. So when no stress is there, gonadotrophic inhibitor hormones, they will not work, and gonadotropin releasing hormones will be released from hypothalamus, so that pituitary gland will release sex hormones like follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone as usually or normally. So of infertility problem will not arise when no stress is there. But when stress is there, these glucocorticoids, cortisol hormones, they will trigger, or they will stimulate the release of GnIH, gonadotropin inhibitor hormones will be release, so that they will stop the release of GnRH hormones from this hypothalamus, so that pituitary gland will not release FSH and LH hormones, so that results in the failure of development of follicles, or the failure of oogenesis and spermatogenesis. So that results in the infertility. So in stress and cancer, so cancer may be arisen due to stressful conditions also. So the hormones released during the stress response can alter the number and the types of immune cells, such as T cells, natural killer cells produced by the body, and they also increase inflammation. So increased inflammation and immunity affect the cancer. So stress is extrapolated to affect cancer on this basis. And the stress and headaches, there is intense constriction of blood vessels supplying to the brain. So this is followed by distension to allow blood to flow back to the brain. So these distended blood vessels pushes the nerves, causing the headache. So in this way, during the stressful conditions, the swelling of these blood vessels, they will cause headaches. Stress and asthma. Asthma is a chronic inflammatory disease of the airways in the lungs. So due to this, airways, they will become constricted, and it makes the breathing difficulty, so that oxygen capturing will be very hard, and that may become a very dangerous situation to the individual. So some psychological factors are also like stressful situations, negative family environment, and emotional arousals. They may also result in this asthma. And stress and IBS. So it has been suggested that there occurs disturbance in the gut-brain axis. The large intestine becomes irritated, and its musculature contractions are spastic rather than smooth and wave-like. So the abdomen is bloated, and the patient experiences cramping and alternating periods of constipation and diarrhea. So these are the symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. So stress also may be a reason for this irritable bowel syndrome. Next, stress may also cause obesity. So it plays a major role in obesity. So emotions, environmental causes also cause overheating habit in these people who are experiencing stress. So that this overeating, to overcome the stress, they will habituate to overeating. So this overeating results in the obesity. So in this way, stress and obesity are also interlinked. So other stress-related disorders are ulcers, chronic fatigue syndrome, menstrual cycle disorders, memory loss, insomnia, kidney disorders. And some social problems also can be seen in people who are facing stress, chronic stress especially, like drug and alcohol abuse, gambling, broken or problem families, accidental injuries, and suicide also may be seen. So risk factors for stress, usually uh, common risk factors are childhood experiences, personality traits, genetic traits, immunological diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, and in older adults, caregivers and divorced or widowed individuals. So in these individuals also, we can see stress. So occupational stress is another one. So work-related stress is responsible for this occupational stress. So in this work-related stress results in the so the work-related stress due to this work demands and work pressures results in this occupational stress. So when they are not matched to their knowledge and their abilities are not suitable, then their ability will not be sufficient to cope up that work related stress. So under such conditions, they will develop this occupational stress. So causes for occupational stress is competition and rivalry with colleagues, and excess work, long hours of work or night shift works, drab and monotonous job insecurity, lack of opportunities for advancement or development in the job, unpleasant physical conditions at the work. So all these things may cause this occupational stress. So effects of occupational stress, apart from health related problems, there may be other symptoms also, like increased absenteeism, industrial accidents, irresponsibility and violence can be seen in those people who are facing this occupational stress. So, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. So this is a disorder that follows after the exposure to a life-threatening or other extreme event that causes feelings of horror or helplessness. This PTSD is common after sexual assault, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, combat veterans or war veterans, survivals of the disorders. In these people, we can see this post-traumatic stress disorder. Symptoms of these PTSD are flashbacks, nightmares, impaired concentrations, emotional numbing, depression. Symptoms of these, all these symptoms can last for several years too. So early signs of stress. So it is very, very important to identify the early signs of stress so that we can take precautions and we can prevent the stress. If these signs are present, all the efforts should be directed towards strengthening and coping strategies. So emotional effects like frustration, nervousness, boredom, mood swings, low self-esteem, and loneliness. These are the emotional effects. And physical effects include headaches, diarrhea, insomnia, indigestion, back pain, ringing in ears, and nervous stitches. These are the physical effects. And mental effects comprises of constant worry, obsessive thoughts, trouble thinking, unable to take decisions, forgetfulness. Behavioral effects include not eating or overeating, verbal outburst or physical outburst, smoking, gambling, and driving too fast. So how to manage this stress? So we can manage this stress at three levels: individual level, family level, and community level. At individual level, we have to learn decision making techniques. We have to develop time management skills, and we have to undertake some regular physical exercises, and progressive muscular relaxation also must be provided. For that purpose, yoga and meditation have to be practiced. So all these things they will help us to cope up with these stressful conditions. And the management to be done at family level includes, so family is the first support system for any individual. So family should be cooperative to the individual who is facing this stress. So children model their parents behavior, so including managing stress also will be followed by the children by observing their parents, so that parents should be role models for their children. Having regular conversation can help a family work together to better understanding and address any stress. So spending much time with family helps in coping with this, coping up with this stress conditions. And at community level also, like workplaces or companies, job providers also, they also have to do something to work with to cope with this stress. So focus has been more on work related stress. So Sakshi Saheli program under Rajiv Gandhi scheme for empowerment of adults and girls has been taken place to as a part of this community level stress management activity. So in some colleges also stress management programs will be conducted. Some say for example like competitions like games competitions, singing competitions. So all such competitions also they will release the stress of the employees. So some companies, some colleges also conduct such stress management programs. So these are to be done at community level. So this is about stress biology and related disorders. With this topic is over. We shall meet with another topic in next class.